It's trying to find the right self-care that person needs. So that's something I do preach a lot to my clients when it comes to stress management, is finding their biggest self-care routine that they love to do, that they actually find stress relieving and not stress ignoring. So, because that's what a lot of people confuse. They view their self-care as their alone time where they're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, eating junk food. Now, if that works for that person, go right ahead. But if you're not really self-care, but stress ignoring, then that's where stress compounds, and that person who tells you that they're fine, they're fine, they're fine, they're fine, 1 week tells you, I'm not fine.
Let's link up with Krysta on the FYX. She's a wellness coach with a focus on mental well-being and physical strength.
Hey, FYX listeners, welcome to episode 69 of the FYX podcast. I'm your host, Krysta Huber, and we're back. I missed you guys last week. It's my first episode since we've started podcasting. Now 69, I guess 70 weeks ago, technically, where I missed a Thursday. And I really thought long and hard about this before I decided to skip a week for the show, because I set out this goal and was like, I'm going to podcast and I'm going to do it every single week. And I really preach being real, authentic, and honest with you guys. And I'm going to keep this super straight. I'm really stressed out. I have a lot going on between my full-time job, managing my nutrition clients, and I have some goals for the FYX podcast that I want to start bringing more content to YouTube and sharing the visual component of all of this with you. And it's challenging to run this as basically a one-woman show with the help of my amazing editor, Tony, every single week. And I was having a conversation with my nutrition coach. We usually do our check-ins on Wednesdays. And I said to her, I'm seeing great results with my current fitness and nutrition plan. I'm in a calorie deficit, super happy about it. Going to share a little bit more about that journey in an upcoming episode with you guys, because I think I have some great insights and hopefully some information that might help you kind of change your perspective if you're thinking about fat loss. But one of the big things that we were discussing is stress management. And that actually even comes up in today's conversation. But have a few little housekeeping items and a couple personal things to share before I introduce today's guest. So chatting with my nutrition coach, Sonia, and she says to me, I think it's really important that you be honest with the listeners regarding taking a break, because it's a way to give someone else permission that they can do that too. And I kind of created this story for myself that I had to podcast every single week. And I really love this. And so it's something that's important to me. And because it's important, I put time into it and I emphasize the time that it takes to put this all together. But it also was coming at the expense of my own sleep, my own self-care, and downtime. And I realized, hey, I can produce a much better episode if I just give myself that extra week and take a little bit of a break and give myself some room for that mental space that I honestly need to be creative and feel like I can say and share information and be present for the conversations that I'm having with my guests. So in that vein, I wanted to share that for the time being, I'm not sure how long this is going to be, just based on where my schedule is at currently, we are going to move to an every other week calendar schedule for releasing new episodes. So we'll still be coming out on Thursdays, so make sure you check in on Thursdays, but now it's just going to be every other Thursday. If you've fallen behind on a couple of episodes, this will give you a good chance to catch up, but selfishly, this is what's going to work best for me right now, and I would be totally missing the point and not really practicing what I preached if I didn't explain why that is. And in reflecting on it over the course of the last week and really thinking about a lot of my goals, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're not taking care of yourself, right? Like, you can perform really well in your job, but if you don't have your health, and if you don't continue to do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself on a regular basis, it's kind of like, well, for what? And that's really a perfect jumping off point, honestly, for today's conversation, because I'm talking with one of my new friends, JP Burns. And JP, him and I connected through a brand that I also partner with called Athletifreak. And I did want to share as a little precursor to this episode. If you'd like to learn more about Athletifreak, please check out episode 17 of the FYX podcast. From last year, I interviewed the founder, Mo, of this amazing clothing brand. Their stuff is awesome. FYX listeners, any Fitness FYX supporters, you guys do get a little discount if you're interested in checking out their merch. I dropped that in the show notes. And one of the pillars behind Athletifreak is really joining people together for movement, not just in the physical sense, but also to get behind different causes. And JP is one of the Athletifreak Icons. We refer to the brand ambassadors for Athletifreak as icons, who is organizing an upcoming event and movement that the brand is getting behind called Free Your Mind. And this entire conversation, we talk all about mental health. JP opens up about his own challenges with mental health. He talks about why he wanted to create this movement and some of the tools that he now uses today to protect and really maintain his mental hygiene. And we talk a lot about the definition of mental hygiene, how that applies to working out, how you can use things like meditation, how he personally uses tools like meditation. Shout out to the Calm app, which we both love and enjoy as one of the tools that we both use in our day-to-day practice. And I just want to, I'm recording this after our conversation. JP will be hearing this part of the episode after the fact, and I wanted to give him a huge compliment because it was his first time on a podcast. It's always nerve-wracking to jump into an episode for the very first time when you're not used to it. Every week I'm always saying, oh, why did I say something that way? And he did a really great job, and he really was honest and genuine and vulnerable, and you can tell that he's excited about this and he's put a lot of work into it. So I just want to, JP, if you're listening, back to the recording, acknowledge you for everything that you're doing, and again, share that I'm excited to be able to help you propel this mission forward. So all of the details about the Free Your Mind event, which is the first workout that JP is planning in May. It's just a couple weeks away. The workout itself will be released on May 7th. And then the following Saturday, May 14th, is the official day to complete the Free Your Mind workout. But again, as you'll hear throughout our conversation, this is a movement. So if you want to become a part of it, if you want to prioritize your mental health, get extra resources for managing your mental hygiene on a regular basis, would encourage everybody to go to the Athletifreak website, and you can actually register not just for the event, which is going to be benefiting the Warrior Strong organization, and JP will share more about that in our conversation and how they arrived at that partnership, but just as a really great way to prioritize you. And I hope that's the message that you'll get throughout this chat, and even what I'm trying to get across, and just saying that sometimes you got to prioritize you, or not, scratch that. You have to prioritize you, because at the end of the day, you are your most important asset. And if you don't feel good, that's not going to allow you to show up the way you need to for other people. And for you to be able to rest your head at night and say, hey, I'm proud of what I accomplished today. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. Check out Athletifreak. Check out the Free Your Mind movement. Stay tuned because it's just getting started. I'll be sharing more about it. I'm going to jump in on this workout on May 14th. I do know what it is, and it's a fun one. I think some of you listeners out there would really enjoy the challenge of participating in it. So if you're interested in learning more, just shoot me a DM over at the Krysta Huber or at the FYX.officialpod, and we can have a conversation about it. Maybe we can, for my Jersey listeners, if anybody wants to meet up and organize a day to do the workout together, that would be a whole lot of fun. So just really pumped for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And with that, let's kick it over to JP. I want to know the go-to FYX question. What is your coffee order of choice? Are you a coffee drinker first and foremost? Because I didn't ask you.
So I am a big coffee drinker.
Nice.
I have a different coffee order depending on which coffee house I'm going to that
All right,
morning.
so let me hear it. I love it. I love the detail already. So what do we got?
So I don't know if all your listeners are from the Jersey Shore area, but my favorite place to go for coffee is Rook Coffee, and my go-to order is the New Orleans style
We love
with
you already.
almond milk and agave. So yeah, that's usually my go-to. And if I can't get there and I'm going to like Starbucks or Dunkin', I usually get like just a cold brew iced coffee, sometimes with the salted caramel cream. That's usually like my go-to if I'm going to one of those other two places. Not the most trainer-ized answer, but like that's my answer.
Okay, that's okay. I always joke around with people because obviously I have a lot of fitness and wellness people on the show, and we're like so boring with our coffee orders. So when I get somebody that's pretty exciting, I'm like all about it. But you already got brownie points with us just for the Rook reference.
Yeah.
So it really is some of the best coffee that I've ever had.
100%. If anyone ever comes to the Jersey Shore, one of the things you have to do is find the nearest Rook shop and go get a cup of coffee.
Love it. Yes, highly recommend. And the New Orleans is a classic. You can't go wrong with that one.
No, not at all.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, I'm happy to hear that we're on the same page about our caffeine. Very important that we've established that. But now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of everything. So tell me, who is JP? But more specifically, why should we care about what you have to say today? I know you have a cool event that's happening. We'll get into all of that.
Yes.
But this is going to kind of kick us off to talk about what you've been really examining for the last couple of years, right? When it comes to mental health.
To sum it up, I'm just a 30-year-old dude who's trying to make a difference in the world any way that he can. So this is one way that I found that I can try to make a difference about something I'm very passionate about. And like you said, we're going to talk about it more in depth later. But I'm hoping that what I have to say today resonates with some people and we could get a movement really going. What I noticed, like with movements like this, is that it's a lot of stop and go. So I'm really hoping that this is the movement that goes and keeps going and grows and really makes a change in the world when it comes to mental health and society and community and how we're all there for each other.
Amazing. So let's kind of lay it out for all the listeners, right? Because I think you said something really interesting to your point about a lot of these efforts and movements and workouts with charities behind them or some sort of theme around them aren't always consistent. Someone might get the idea going and then it doesn't remain. And for a little context for the listeners out there, maybe start off by telling us about how you got in with Athletifreak. I've had Mo, the founder, on my show before, and I can give a little background to that too and my involvement with it. But I think that would be a good place for us to start and then move into talking about Free Your Mind.
This is perfect. So I met Mo in 2020, the fall of 2020. He came to Lifetime to talk to us about shooting a commercial for this startup clothing brand. And it was something that I jumped on because I thought it'd be a fun way to spend the day and meet some new people and just more like-minded people. His whole message really connected with me. The whole idea that the brand was called Athletifreak because he was a CFO of a pharmaceutical company, but he always liked to go participate in his Ironmans. And everyone thought he was, crazy for doing so. But, and that's kind of like the perception he had. And I kind of resonated with that. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. And then after doing everything, getting to talk to him more, he actually, we launched the commercial. He launched his sales for the Athletifreak shirts. It was the first thing he had, just basic t-shirts. And then he came up to a group of us who shot the commercial and was like, would you guys like to be icons for the brand? And obviously, after spending more time with him and knowing that he is a community mindset person and that movement is a way to unite us all and grow our community, that was, a no-brainer for me to be like, yeah, this is someone I'd want to partner with and work with and help grow. And, it's been a good 2 years knowing Mo and being able to collaborate with him with events just like this.
Yeah, they're such an amazing group.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned to you, that was one of my favorite podcast episodes that I've recorded because he just has such an interesting outlook, and I love their brand. Super happy to also be a part of that
Mm-hmm.
Icon team, and then be able to cultivate this network for people like us to even connect, right? I know I
Yes.
was joking
Mm-hmm.
around with you that I'm like the one person in the group who isn't a lifetime
Yeah.
trainer, but at the same
Yes.
time, like I never would have met you guys otherwise. So I think that's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's good. It's again, it's just showing how Mo's core principles kind of about why he started this company kind of do hold truth, is that it connects all of us, and it is a way for us to promote health and community. And yeah, there's who could say no to that?
Right. Amen. 100%. It's a big reason why I have these conversations, why I started this podcast. And, you know, it's the driver behind what I do with everything that I personally choose to get involved in. And I know that's something that you can certainly relate to as well. And, you know, would love to know more about your decision to become a trainer and all of that. But before we kind of get into that background, lay out
Mm-hmm.
for us what the Free Your Mind event is. What are you planning right now? We just launched it officially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit more about it, because ultimately we'd love for some listeners to potentially participate in this wherever they're listening from.
So the Free Your Mind movement is a community-led workout challenge that we kind of designed so that anyone can do it anywhere. Ideally, we're going to be having a registration for the workout. Everyone will get the workout on May 7th. The workout will be completed on the day of May 14th. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and as charity is for mental health and the movement is for mental health awareness, we wanted to do it around this time. So when we started working on this in December, we kind of locked in on this date. We launched it all yesterday just by using this platform to spread mental health awareness, the Athletifreak community. We believe that we can use movement to transcend not just physical health, but mental health as well, tap into our mental strength, our mental fortitude, and have that similarities. Health is not just physical, it's also mental. And if we just focus too much on physical health and we ignore our mental health, that's when people start to feel overwhelmed with life or feel stressed out and they don't know where to go. So we're using this as a way to promote mental health, is not just mental illness, because obviously that's also there, but from people who have a day-to-day struggle with their own mental health, because people ignore their mental hygiene or their mental diet and they don't give it priority. So this is just another aspect of health and fitness that we feel that we need to raise awareness for and have people work with.
It's amazing. I know when we first connected on this, like the thing that really stuck out to me was, and you use the terminology again, mental hygiene, right? Because it's so easy, I think, especially among fitness professionals, we can be the biggest hypocrites about a lot of this stuff, right? Because we're trying to jam pack so many things in a day and preach certain things to our clients, and then we don't necessarily live those principles ourselves. So I'd love to know, in your experience, whether that's over the last 2 years, or even longer than that, what was it for you, whether it was yourself personally or things that you observed from conversations with your clients, with coworkers, whomever, that made you kind of realize, hey, people aren't paying enough attention to this?
Well, so personally, mental health is something I've struggled with since I was young. So it's something that I've always had to work on and stay on top of. And you realize, like, in society, that people rather don't want to talk about it or don't really know how to react around it. So it's something I've always grown with. But I've started noticing a lot of my close friends have been struggling with mental health, and I would try to assist them in some way. And it's just, you don't always know what works for me may not work for someone else. So that was kind of a Kickstarter at the end of last year, to help, individuals grow and become aware of their, like I said, mental hygiene. But during COVID, it was I had a kind of a reset on fitness in general, that more of fitness should be promoted in a health conscious way. Like, I use the example all the time. Lifting weights and strength training should be just the same kind of hygiene that you do as brushing your teeth. And that's why I like to use the word mental hygiene, because again, same thing, your mental hygiene will help prepare your body or your mind for all the stress of day-to-day life. I use the example, how many times do people week over week just tell you they're fine until the one day they're not. So this is a way to give people some techniques, some lifestyle habits and behaviors that'll hopefully educate them to not only handle their own mental hygiene, but in case anyone ever comes up in their life who is struggling with mental health, rather it be just basic lifestyle stress to more severe mental illness, they'll be able to comfort them and support them in the way that they need.
How do you feel about all of what you just described, specifically from the male perspective? I don't know all of the exact stats offhand, but I was scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I saw a post on a friend's story about, the data around suicide rates among men, mental health challenges among men are a lot higher, but extremely underreported. So I just love your take on that, especially because of what you shared about you've grown up with this being something that you've really had to take a priority and focus on.
So it's kind of like it's one of the things I wish we could change about society. Again, this is like something we're always trying to work towards, but again, like we all know the stats about men's suicide rates being higher, men's mental health struggles being underreported, because from a societal standpoint, people are taught at a young age, men are taught at a young age, don't share your feelings, don't man up, things like that. So, there is some societal backlash that comes along with that. And then you look at when men do kind of speak out, they kind of get made fun of or poked at or not taken seriously. So then they're like, why should I even talk to anyone, because no one's gonna be there anyway. So that's one thing I'd like to change, and not just from the male perspective, but for everyone's perspective. Like everyone's struggling and becoming more aware of mental health, especially since COVID. If you look at the statistics about youth suicide is up, youth self-harm is up. Cases of anxiety and depression are going up in our younger generation because of, you could say it's the last 2 years, but it is something that we need to become more cognizant of, more aware of, and more supportive of as a community and understanding. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you're right. It's not just male specific. It's just, as you were kind of talking through that, it made me think back to that. And, we can obviously speak best from our own personal experience. And you said this at the beginning, like what might work for you might not work for somebody else. But putting more of your like coaching client to trainer relationship kind of hat on, how do you weave these principles and personal values of yours into your one-on-one sessions with your personal training clients?
So I just talk about health in general, my one-on-one or my small group classes. I talk a lot about health is not just coming into the club inside these four walls and putting in your hour workout in. Health is that's part of your day, but if you really want to be healthy, we got to take it from inside these four walls and bring it outside those four walls. So when people feel comfortable enough to talk to me, I try and help where I can. And if it's something that's like outside my scope, I try to give them the information of someone who is more supportive, rather that be another coach, another trainer, or something that they need that I can't give them. So it's more just realizing what I can do to help people, and more importantly, what I can't do. So.
Yeah. And then if you're willing to share, what do you personally do on a regular basis to help with your own mental hygiene and maintaining your own mental hygiene?
So I meditate frequently. I probably meditate 2 or 3 times a day. Little from like right before bed, right when I wake up, I'll do like a 10-minute meditation. Before I go to bed, I'll do a 20-minute meditation, and sometimes when I'm at work, my boss gets kind of annoyed. Like if I have an hour break, I'll put my headphones in and I'll listen to a guided meditation, so that way I could just listen to it. I probably won't actually. That's probably my least meditative meditation,
Like
but
your
like at least
least
I'm.
present meditation.
Yeah, exactly. But at least I'm listening to something. I'm taking the stress out of the day. Um, I tr- and I try to stay active with that. Just been more aware of my own state of mind during times. So, rather my mind wanders or I get creative ideas, I just try and be more mindful about what I'm doing throughout the day. And I found that these meditations have been something that helps me become more cognizant of that. So that's what I do that helps me. And I know that's not for everyone. So it's trying to find the right self-care that person needs. So that's something I do preach a lot to my clients when it comes to stress management, is finding their biggest self-care routine that they love to do, that they actually find stress relieving and not stress ignoring. So, because that's what a lot of people confuse. They view their self-care as their alone time where they're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, eating junk food. Now, if that works for that person, go right ahead. But if you're not really self-care, but stress ignoring, then that's where stress compounds, and that person who tells you that they're fine, they're fine, they're fine, they're fine, 1 week tells you I'm not fine. And
I'm going to repeat that phrase and totally steal it because I love it. Stress
yes.
relieving for the listener. Just to say it again, stress relieving versus stress ignoring. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
heard it worded that way before, but I think that's awesome. I think, the example of the Netflix, right? Like being on
Mm-hmm.
the couch, like I've heard that used in the context of saying, oh, that's more of a numbing exercise. It's numbing
Mm-hmm.
out from, and yes, therefore ignoring the thing that you think is relieving your stress. It's like, well, really, maybe you could say, oh, I have a really stressful job and that's my way of unwinding and not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really, really kind of examine that and take that a step further, in a lot of ways it's not, because you're just going to wake up the next day and the problem
Mm-hmm.
that you're maybe not addressing is still going to be there, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, and that's why it's very introspective that's why I always talk about a lot of self-care and self-love and whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Like, because there is a lot of stress, not to your job, to your friends, to your family, to your community. But sometimes you have to, be a little selfish and prioritize yourself. And I know it's not the most popular answer, but it is something that I feel like is probably would be the biggest game changer to a lot of people's mental health, if they knew how to give themselves the actual stress management they need through self-care, as opposed to, like we said, stress ignoring routines that just get their mind off of the stress, but not really help manage it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even argue in a lot of ways too. I think this brings up some questions around working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people choose the gym as a form of stress relief. And if you really break it down, it's actually not quite what it is. Because if we look at it from a pure science standpoint, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
actually stress. Like it's a form of
Mm-hmm.
good stress, but it is
Yeah.
still, like, in its purest form, a
Mm-hmm.
type of stress. And I think that a lot of people, like, I've definitely been in that space where I've
Mm-hmm.
lost sight of that because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym because if I do this crazy workout where I feel
Mm-hmm.
totally exhausted and dead on the floor by the time I'm done, then somehow psychologically that was going to help me manage all of these other things that I'm thinking about all day long.